Mike Norvell is Florida State headed in the right direction. It may not be a conference title, but they're definitely headed back to where they want to be. Fans obviously went through a tumultuous, a frustrating, a difficult time last year in his first season. There's a lot of things that happened last year, from COVID to protests and whatnot, and Mike Norvell did his best to navigate that. And now it seems like the focus is shifting back towards play on the field now that they have all those things sort of figured out. So it's going to be fun to see what this Florida State team can do. And there's a couple of transfers that we'll talk about today that can make a big impact for the Seminoles this year. Number 10, cornerback Jarvis Brownlee Jr. One pick last year. You lose Asante Samuel Jr. and someone needs to step up. Could that be Brownlee? It could be. It could be another guy as well. It's just going to be interesting to see what this defense can do on the backside. Second level will be fun to watch, but it's really going to come down to what can the backside do to keep teams off the scoreboard through the air. Number 9, tackle Darius Washington. 11 games of experience, still relatively new to the starting lineup, so he's still learning his craft. He's still learning how to be a good tackle, but a guy that has a lot of potential for the Seminoles offense. And then on the other side, Robert Scott Jr., 24/7 Sports, true freshman All-American last year. These two guys have bright futures, and it'll be fun to watch to see what they can do now that they have a full year of experience, relative full year of experience under their belt. Linebacker Steven Dix Jr. comes in at number 7, 44 tackles last year, 3.5 for loss, third best linebacker on his team, so we'll be talking about other guys that will join him. Number 6, wide receiver Ontario Wilson, 382 yards and 2 touchdowns. Norvell's offenses have been known to be explosive, and his wide receivers that he's coached in the past have fit that role as well. And it's going to be interesting to see what guys like Wilson, maybe it's not Wilson, maybe there's another guy that's going to step up, a guy that we'll talk about in a little bit that could be one of those guys. Maybe it's a running back that's the feature. Norvell's shown that he can develop wide receivers, he can develop running backs, quarterbacks, you name it. He can do it all. That's the reason why people are excited to have Norvell in Tallahassee. It's because he knows how to put together a good offense. Number 5, linebacker Jermaine Johnson, the Georgia transfer who is primarily used in just pass rushing packages with the Bulldogs. Now he comes into Florida State and gets a chance to play on a more consistent basis on 3 or 4 downs. And a guy who, even despite being in a rotation, still was very productive in his limited time. But now he gets a chance to show what he really can do and show NFL scouts that he can be someone that they want. If his name rings a bell, he was on Last Chance U with Independence Community College in Kansas, and now he has found his way to Florida State. Number 4, running back Jashawn Corbin. I mentioned that Norvell knows how to develop running backs, and Corbin is going to be the first guy to see that for Florida State. A guy who was very explosive, 401 yards last year with 5 touchdowns. I think that he could be in store for a big year, depending on the quarterback, depending on the offensive line. But I think that he's in the right system, he's under the right coach, and it's going to be fun to see what he can do in a Norvell-led offense. Number 3, wide receiver Andrew Parchman. The Kansas transfer in 2019 had 831 yards and 7 touchdowns. If you can do that at Kansas, I can't imagine what you're going to do on a team that can actually play football at a high level. And while Florida State obviously has had its fair share of struggles, Parchman is going to have a fun season because we know what he can do, we know what he's capable of, and now he gets to play on an offense that is a little bit more put together, even with the struggles on the Seminoles. Number 2, linebacker Emmett Rice. Very, very fun player to watch, can throw a big hit, had 61 tackles last year, 7.5 for loss. Just going to be one of those guys that you always have to know where he is on the field. Then number 1 is quarterback Mckenzie Milton. Now I will admit that this is 100% dependent on his health. of his knee. He's coming back from a horrific injury that I wish upon nobody. And it's just, his story already is inspiring, and the fact that he's even considered to be a starter for the Florida State Seminoles is really just inspiring. And if he is back to 100%, which I don't know if he ever will be, but even if he's close to that, he's a playmaker. Now, he's not going to have the biggest arm. He's not going to be the fastest player, but this is a guy with over 10,000 yards of total production in his career, and he has 92 touchdowns to his name. So he knows how to play. He knows how to play in big games, and he looked really good in the spring game for Florida State. So I'm really excited to see what he can do, and putting him with Mike Norvell seems like a match made in heaven, and there's talent around him where he doesn't have to be the focal point. He can just distribute the ball to everybody else and let them do work, and then when teams forget about him, he can make a big play. Florida State has the talent as usual. Nothing's really changed there. Norvell's doing a great job of bringing in talent in recruiting classes. He's doing a great job of making sure that Florida State will be competitive in the ACC. It's just a matter of, can they put it all together on the field. I think the offense will at least be exciting to watch this year. The defense has some pieces that are nice, and it still might be a year before they're going to contend in the ACC, but at least this year they'll take a step forward.